Hello, this is Angelia with today's wisdom. Today's wisdom comes from Daily Ohm, promoting the positive, negative pull. Sometimes we start out with the best intentions to think and speak only positive thoughts. And I know I start out that way every morning. But the people around us throw us off course. And that's true. Really, we're our reactions are what's throwing us off course. But, we're going to blame them because they did this or that. So that happens. Not everyone fully understands the power our thoughts and words have, because everything you think and say has an impact, either on you or on whoever's hearing you. Or even if they do, they may be stuck in old patterns of negativity. And I know there's someone in my family who they used to say that their mother was the most meanest person in the world. And if that's true, they're the most negative person in the world. Because you can be bringing them the best news ever, and they will put a negative spin on it. And nothing is ever positive with them. Like I said, you could, have the most beautiful thing ever to tell them, and they will put a negative spin on it. So there are people like that who thrive on negativity, and they do this. So unfortunately, if you come up in a situation where there's negativity all around, you're going to be more negative. Much of our habitual communication takes the form of complaining and criticizing it. And we all do it. We all complain. We all criticize. In my examples, sometimes I'm criticizing people, but it's to make point. And it can be hard to find a way into certain conversations without lapsing into these old habits. Because old habits die hard, as they say. If this is what you're used to doing, you'll fall back in stress times, and when you're confused, you'll fall back on that because that's what you're used to doing. However, we always have the option not to participate in negativity or to find a way to influence the situation in a positive direction. I used to have someone who I would talk to, a relative, on the phone, and all negative all the time. And eventually, at one point, I just got tired of hearing it, and I told this person, I'm tired of hearing this. I know what I'm doing, and I don't need your lectures. I'm, 50 years old, or however old I was at the time, and I have a life. I know what I'm doing, and I'm tired of you running me and my children down. We're not these people that you're making us out to be. You're just putting everything into a negative light. You're telling other people these things, and they're believing these things because they don't know us and experience us on a regular basis. So, you're coloring everyone's perception of our life. And they respected that. They took a step back. And so now our conversations are just factual. They don't spew as much negative crap as they used to. So sometimes you just got to set up a boundary and say, done, had enough, not dealing with this anymore. And people will actually respect that. In the right company, you may even be able to directly acknowledge the fact that things have taken a negative turn. And we know when it does. We're talking to somebody, we're having fun and everything, and then suddenly they say something, and you're like, oh, well. And then thus freezing yourself and others from the negative pull. And, you can stop and do that. You can stop and say, this has gone negative. So your choices then are to either react negatively, ignore it and move on, or turn it into a positive. If they said this negative thing, say, oh, no, it's not like that. And then turn it back into the positive thing that intentions were to begin with. Not everyone will respond to your cues. And like I said, it's up to you how people treat you. You know, if people treat you badly, it's because you allow them to. And I know I was guilty of that in the past. So you can give people cues. And I know there are people who I've been in friendships with, and I'll drop one out. And the next one I'll drop out and say, hey, you know what? We've had this conversation before. I'm not okay with this. The next time you do this, I'm probably going to walk away because I don't want this in my life. And people get upset, sometimes when you put up boundaries, especially if they're, narcissistic sociopaths. But that's what you should do for yourself. Because if you want drama, don't worry about it. But if you don't want that in your life, you need to stop it. There's no need to become overly attached to the idea of changing other people, because you can't. You can influence them, and then they might make the decision to change based on your influence, but ultimately it's them. It's their decision on who they want to be. Because people have to choose for themselves how they will be in the world. And, the old saying is you can lead the horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And that's true. Many people choose negativity because it is familiar to them and feels safe. That like that old saying about the devil, they're used to being negative, and they're in their little circle and everybody's negative and me. And that's where they're comfortable. I used to work with a group of people, and they were just miserable people. Just miserable, griping all the time, negative about everything, saw nothing good in the world. And I just would sit there and be like, that must be so sad that this is how you feel about your life. That is sad. And I know people now who have, depression or things, and they just get in that negative mode, and then it's like, that's sad, because life is wonderful. God created so many wonderful things for us to see and do and experience. And it's just sad when all you got is negative. It's important to give people the space to find their own way, but you can't always set an example, subtly representing the power to be positive. And that's what we should be. If we're walking in our Be Like Jesus shoes, then that's what we should be, a positive example. At times you may interject an affirmative statement into the conversation, which, I do. And at others you may simply change the subject. Because sometimes, like I said, with older people, they're stuck in their ways. They're not wanting to change once they get so old. And you just move it over to something else. Because, it doesn't matter what I say to them. You may also simply withdraw your energy and presence, which also makes a subtle statement. So, again, if somebody's filling you full of negative, excuse me, I gotta go. I got, things to do. Walk away. And then they'll get the message. They'll realize, oh, well, why did she do that? Well, because you're sitting there griping and being negative, and why do I want to sit there and listen to that? Excuse me. If you feel comfortable enough with somebody that is always negative, perhaps you can have an honest conversation with them. After all, awareness is the first step to change. Like I said, with the person I was talking to on the phone, it's like I had just finally had enough of their negativity. It's like, what you're saying is not even real. You live in this imaginary negative world that you've created in your mind. It's not even real. Stop, or I'm done. A powerful way to free yourself from the negative pull is to enlist allies who are similarly minded. And my children have done this. There are certain people in the family who have actually questioned them about how I was as a mother, and it made them very uncomfortable because they were like, why are they doing that? What is the deal there? And I'm like, because this is a very closed group, and this is how they roll. They talk to this person who's super negative, and they know that this person is super negative because I've heard them talking about it. So if they think that he is and know that he is, don't they think that that applies to the other people in his life? That he's probably putting a negative spin on them as well? Yeah. You and a friend, a coworker, or family member may agree to work together to continually shift the energy in a situation to a positive direction. And sometimes that's hard. People don't want to do that. They want it how they want it. But if we're going to be light bringers into the world, then it is our job to put things in a positive light. The power of two people working to promote the positive is exponentially greater than one person working on their own. Because, my kids, they said that they're not going to have it, that they might laugh it off or whatever, but they said that there are people in the family who have an opinion of me. And I know that opinion is not based on reality. It's based on these negative things that these certain two people who, other people might think know what they're talking about, but they don't, of course. And so they're just like, no, it's not like that. No, they try to diffuse the crazies. Probably shouldn't have said that, but as you and your allies work together to lift the energy around you, you will be amazed to see how quickly the positive pull begins to draw people into its orbit. Because, everybody likes someone who's cheerful and happy and positive. Those are the people you want to be around. You don't want to be around someone who's depressed and negative all the time, unless that's what you're used to and that's what makes you comfortable. And it shouldn't. If it is, then it's time to pull yourself out of that, really. Free one mind after another from negativity into light. And that's, like I said, our job is to shed some light out into the world, because it's a dark place. We all know that. So promote the positive, and try to pull people out of the negative. Think about it. That's all for now.